Right, okay, I think everything's recording again. Let me just check. Yeah, it is. Okay. Right, we're going to make the pastry now. One thing I wanted to say a wee minute ago, you just seen me greasing this tin. Well, loaf glass. This is Pyrex. Okay. And the other one as well, the round one. Now I melted the fat. Okay, and then use a pastry brush, a silicone pastry brush. If you don't have one of that and you're going to think, how can I do that? Here's the wrapper from the Stork. Okay, you can get the wrapper or a piece of baking greaseproof paper, and you can put a bit of the fat on it and you can rub it around inside. You can even do it with your finger if you like, you're at home. Okay, so but don't be doing this when you're in home and rub it around inside. You can see there's fat on this. I have the Stork already in the bowl here. I'm going to have to take it out of the fridge, so I'm going to work quite quickly actually. So this is what has been left over, so don't throw this away. You can use this to rub it around and grease something. Okay, so I'm going to put that back in the fridge because I'm going to use that later for greasing something else. Okay, so don't go throwing that away. So in here in the bowl I have, because I'm doing this one here which isn't gluten free, this is for me, this is just made with normal flour. So because I'm doing that and it's quite small, I have to kind of guesstimate how much flour. So I think I'm going to need about 4 ounces of dough for that. So that's 4 ounces of flour. So for that I'm going to need, that's 50 grams. And then I would need double the amount of, I'm just checking this again. I need double the amount of flour for that, okay? It's just as well I said that now because I didn't double the flour and I would have been in trouble. So I'm just going to double up on the flour again, and what I'm going to do is, and it's good actually that I didn't do that because what you're going to see me doing here is in a second is sieving the flour. So I want another 100 grams of flour, and I have to apologise for talking in ounces, it's just I don't have it. Okay, so another 100 grams of flour. Now it's important that you get the mixture right between the flour, the balance right. So it is chemistry, okay? Baking is chemistry, and this is carbohydrate and this is fat, and we're trying to get the balance right between the carbohydrate and the fat. Now what I'm doing here is adding air into it. So when you talk about pastry, you talk about something being light, you talk about lightness of pastry, and you also talk about crispiness. Okay, so the lightness comes from, one of the things comes from is doing something like this, which is sifting the flour. The other thing it comes from is from not overhandling the pastry. Just going to sift that there now. So we don't want to overwork the pastry at the other side. So I'm going to show you that in a second. So that's going to add some lightness. It breaks up the flour, so I don't want to mix that around too much because I'm going to condense it down again. So okay, I have the fat in here and I'm going to talk to you about that at the end of it, okay? And then I have double the amount of flour, so I have 100 grams of Stork and I have 200 grams plain flour, and I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to just kind of break it up a little bit. So the more I keep my warm hands out of this, the better. Now you can see it's started to soften up already because it's quite a hot day. I'm sat beside the oven, which is also quite hot, so it really shouldn't be doing this, you know what I mean? You do want it, that it's staying in blocks, so it's not good. I'm hanging about and this is happening. So we want to get our flour in here. Okay, so it's the flour and the fat in there. Another way to make this short is, another way to make it really rich and kind of short at the same time is to use butter. Butter's really nice. Gives a lovely texture and creaminess to the pastry. I'm using stork here, which we'll see after is made from vegetable fats. I also could introduce some just vegetable fats, which is like cooking, and it's actually white. You'll see it in the block if I wanted to get a real nice crispness on this, okay? So again, my hands are absolutely scrupulously clean. Check under your fingernails and everything, don't go near anything, don't. So this is the rubbing in method, so don't dare do anything like this unless your hands are absolutely clean, okay? Now, did I remember? Oh yeah, I have my water out of the fridge. Okay, so I had already put some water in the fridge. Now, you don't never know how much exactly water that you're going to use because flour comes from plants and each plant is slightly different, and the way the flours are blended together is different as well, because flour is grown in temperate climates and our flour is a blend from different parts of the world. From Canadian flour, it could be Irish flour blended with Canadian flour, Irish flour, and English flour tends to be quite grey. So it's blended up to whiten it as well. So we've made some nice breadcrumbs out of this. And it's the Canadian flour that is the strong flour that is used for baking bread. So I want to get all that off my fingers as well, okay? So we don't want the fat melting. It's not good if the fat starts melting. And I have the water here, okay? It's very cold, so we want to make a well in the middle and just go easy with pouring this in, okay? You can use a wooden spoon or you can use a knife. I think it recommends a knife in your books. The thing is now, just do transfer heat, so the heat from your hand is going to come up the knife. Wooden spoons don't transfer heat as easily. And there's a certain point at which I start putting my hand into this because I need to feel the texture of it myself, because I know when it's going to form a ball. And I don't want to put too much water into it because it affects it's going to become sticky, and then I'm going to have to add in more flour into it. And I'm going to upset the balance between the carbohydrate and the fat, and it's going to actually make it too hard because it will absorb all the fats. So I think that's about it. I'm going to actually get my hand in there now. I kind of learned this through experience as well, so don't panic about it. What I'm going to do is keep my fingers loose. I tend to keep my fingers loose at this stage and kind of just roll it around. And I'm forming up a ball. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to knead it slightly, okay? You're kneading it to form a structure and form it up. You'll read places don't knead your pastry, you need to, that's over kneading, where you're stretching the gluten to form the gluten up, because when you're making bread you want the gluten strands to come together and hold. So this is what we're left with here. This is a nice clean ball. There's no stickiness. This is all came away from the sides, okay? It's all completely came away from the sides. There's no sticky stuff left here at all. It's not sticky on the bowl. The sides of the bowl aren't sticking. If that does happen to you, because you have added too much water, just put a bit of flour. Just put a bit of flour inside the bowl, like this, and then run the ball around it, okay? Just flour the inside of the bowl and rub the ball around it. I'm not going to do it with this because it's going to upset my pastry. Okay, so that's that gone out of the way. Okay, so make sure you're organised and you have, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rest this. I'm not going to do anything else to it now. So while I'm resting it, I'm going to get my filling ready, okay? So I'm going to make it nice and cold. Good way so it white, like this, okay? In the fridge for about 20 minutes. So if people are panicking and they don't have a rolling pin, okay, so this is my rolling pin and I've had it for a very long time. Okay, and I actually bought it, big long story here, probably shouldn't get into it. I actually bought it in a second hand place in Zurich in Switzerland, where when a lot of older people and stuff like that over there, people were moving houses and stuff like that. It's very affluent place, Switzerland. They would have died, or people were moving house and they just didn't have, they had a lot of utensils and stuff and they didn't want, there used to be 2 red handles on it, and the thing that went through, I think I still have it, and I could go off and get it fixed one day. So anyway, one of the handles broke, but I still have the piece, I think, that goes through the middle, so I might get it fixed. So really good, and it's very old, solid rolling pin. If you don't have one of those at home, what you could do is get a bottle. Okay, so don't panic, get a bottle. This is what people used to do years ago. Okay, and roll your bottle around, put some flour in it. Okay, don't panic. I've used this before. I had to go and find my rolling pin this morning, okay, because I didn't know where it was, and I've actually done this before with the bottle. Okay, so put a bit of flour on the bottle. Just be careful, it's glass, you don't want to break it. This is good thick bottle, this is extremely heavy, big thick bottle, so I know it's not going to break if I'm leaning on it and that kind of thing. So just be careful with that you don't cut yourself and end up having to rush into hospital and you slice tendons and all that kind of thing. I'm just saying, but you're not supposed to lean heavily on pastry anyway. I'm just saying, as an alternative, because you can't get out and go and buy a rolling pin, grab a bottle. Okay, it'll do just as good. I want to talk to you about the margarine as well. Okay, so like I said, you can use butter and it really enriches the pastry. I have used Stork, okay, which is fine. Okay, and what it is made from is, let's go to the back here where the ingredients are. That's the nutrition. Okay, so you're always going to get the nutrition on the back of it. All the ingredients are here. Okay, so you can see on it there. Okay, you can see on it here, it's made up really of vegetable oils. Sunflower oil and rapeseed oil are the 2 things that are in this the most. Okay, 75% off it. I think I just need to fix this here because I can't see what I'm seeing anymore in this, so if you'll just bear with me for a minute. Let's get my screen back up here. Okay, I'm going to have to keep recording with this on this one because I've run out of storage space. So what did I want to tell you about this? Okay, yeah, it's made out of rapeseed oil and sunflower oil, so 75% off it is, that's what it is. And we, in 5th year for Leaving Cert, you learn about how this is hydrolyzed and formed. These oils are then formed into a block. It's mostly the reason, the big selling point is with this is, or it's not saturated fats, which we find in butter. Okay, saturated fats, while they're not great if you don't want to be over consuming saturated fats, that's why we trim down the fats off meat. They can contribute to cholesterol in the body and block the arteries and stuff like that, but they aren't altogether unhealthy and bad. It's actually the trans fats that you want to watch out for. And if you remember about Leaving Certs, the shape of the molecule, you have cis, where the 2 hydrogens are up here on this way in the molecule, and then what ends up happening is you have trans, where one hydrogen is up at the top and the other hydrogen is down at the bottom, and there's no model for that to digest that in the human system, but there is with this. It will lock into digestive mechanisms in the human system, and we can digest that, but not for this shape where the hydrogen is up at the top and one of them's down at the bottom. So that's the problem with the trans fats, and that can happen when margarine like this is being formed, because high temperatures and stuff like that are involved. So also be aware that it's not totally polyunsaturated fats that are here as well. It's not saturate free, or there is 25% of this that is saturates as well. So just be aware of that just like butter, it's not completely saturates that are in it. There also is polyunsaturates in there. If you go back and look at your book, you will see that, okay? So remember that saturation has got to do with the carbon. If this was carbon, it has hydrogens linked off all ends of it, okay? So that's what saturation is. So they're all single bonded, where if it's polyunsaturated, it's only going to have a molecule here at probably 3 points, and one of them is going to be double bonded. So the saturates are long, single chained, straight molecules. The unsaturated are going to have double bonds. There's going to be a kink in it, at least one, or maybe more kinks in the molecule. Okay, so that's the saturated fats, and that's how we speak about the fats with the degree of saturation that is there. Okay, so that is the margarine anyway. So it is, so you can get this, that it's just the white, where they haven't creamed it up to kind of look like a dairy product, and that will give you more shortness in your pastry. So it will. So okay, you can use it for making scones or scones, whatever you want to find about that terminology, pastry, and also cakes as well. Okay, it is suitable. You can see these here, okay, for vegans and vegetarians, and you'll see this symbol here. It doesn't mean that you can recycle this packaging necessarily. What this is that this person who makes this wrapper, it's part of what's called the green point, that they actually pay, that company pays to be part of this system, and that system actually pays for if you have the recycling bin at home. It keeps down the cost of the recycling bin, and that system came into Ireland. It was the late 80s or early 90s, and it was based on the Blue Point in Germany, where all the manufacturers of packaging all got together. Instead of them taking the packaging back, because you could go and say, here's your packaging, take it back and go and recycle it, which was the legislation that was brought in. They decided to form up and come together where they could pay into this Blue Point or Green Point in Ireland, and to allow people to put everything in the one bin, and then they can take it back and have it recycled. But this is kind of like plastic, so it should be recyclable, but what you need to look for is the density of the plastic and stuff like that. Then it would have to be clean before you put it back there as well. Okay, so also it's gluten free. You can see a gluten free symbol on it as well, and you can go and read up on the nutrition of it. So if you're doing a write-up, you would have to know about the nutrition in it, and you would want to look at salt as well. Okay, and everything on the back of it is in 100 grams. So when you're looking at the nutrition, you can automatically put that into percentage. So 1.5, I think it is, 1.4 of that is 1.4 grams of salt. Now this is a fortified product, so they have fortified it with vitamin A and vitamin D. And also beside it here you see that in RV. Okay, so that means what they have done is they have just taken a cohort of people and said, well, what is the average amount of vitamin A or vitamin D that these people would need? what would be their recommended daily allowance. Okay, so what it's actually saying here is that for vitamin A and vitamin D, you're actually going over that amount if you took 100 grams. Okay, so 100 grams is actually quite a lot. There's 50 gram marks here. Okay, so you're not going to eat like that amount of that. Do you know what I mean? Like for fats every day, you're not supposed to have more than a thumb size of fats every day. Okay, so yeah, if you did have that amount, which would be 100 grams, you're going, well, you would get all your vitamin A, and remember that's fat, you store that in your body, and vitamin D, they're fat stored vitamins. Okay, that's cooling down in the fridge. I need to go and clean down. Remember to clean down as you work, really, really important. Okay, so I'm going to go and clean down a bit here because I need to come back and then roll out. Actually, I should probably leave it. I should probably just roll out and then put it back into rest, and then get ready to put water back in the fridge and go and get the pastry out, and then I'll roll it out, and then I'll get ready for the filling. Okay, it's probably cold enough now anyway. It's not actually overly cold. It's not very cold, it could be colder. So if it's not very cold, it means that it's kind of going to move around on you a wee bit more, and it might possibly kind of break up a wee bit more. So don't over flour your surface because you're going to stiffen your pastry up. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I just move the bottle out of the way. And there's an argument over whether you should flour your rolling pin or not, but I'm flouring my rolling pin. So I want to keep it a shape, so I'm going to say, okay, what shape is this, and you know, what size is it? So I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm doing this. So I'm going to roll, and then I'm going to turn. Okay, roll and turn, and roll and turn. Roll. Now at this stage I'm actually going to throw this over my hand like this, and I'm going to bring in some extra flour, and then I'm going to turn it over completely. So I had this used to be the top, okay, and now it's the bottom. I'm going to roll again, I'm going to catch it and turn, roll and turn. It's a half a turn, I'm doing a half a turn every time. Okay, half a turn to the left and clockwise because I'm right-handed. Okay, half turn to the left. If you were left-handed, you would turn to the right. Okay, half turn all the way down. Okay, I'm trying to keep it in shape. Okay, because I have. If you find it's going out of shape, just run the rolling pin over it. Now I'm going to take my tin and I'm going to put it on it. Now it's big enough for it, but I need an edge as well. Okay, so you need to allow for the edge, so we need to come out another bit. I'm not turning now at this stage, but what you have to be careful of is that it doesn't start to stick into your surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rolling pin and I'm going to lift it up over it, and I'm lifting it up with the rolling pin. So I'll take some really small amount of flour and put it on it and down again. Okay, and I'm feeling it, and the reason I'm feeling it is because it's slightly bigger in some parts than others. So I know I have a little bit more pastry here, so I'm going to just roll that out a little bit. Okay, roll that out a little bit, even it out. Now I know I'm okay because I have some flour underneath, so I know it's not sticking. You really don't want it sticking, because it's. And what you'll find as well is when you move it, because the gluten is elastic, when you lift your pastry it's kind of going to spring back in again. It's going to want to do that. Okay, so let's look at the size again. Just tiny bit more. Now there's always a debate about in baking about when you're doing something that involves a kind of a thing like this about like, is the pastry part of the dish, or is the pastry there just to hold the ingredients, and that like whatever you put in your quiches, that's what's important, and the pastry is there just to act as something to hold it. But like, I like pastry, so I want my pastry to be part of my dish. So also you should remember we're cooking quiche. So I want you to start thinking about what nutrient is missing from eggs. So I'm going to, it's a macronutrient, I'm going to bring this up, okay, over here, over my rolling pin, or you can do it over your bottle if you don't have a rolling pin at home. I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to bring it down to a little bit over the tip of it here, and I'm going to roll it across, gently across the top of it. Okay, so it looks something like this. Okay, hopefully you can see that okay. And I'm going to start relaxing it into it, okay, with the edges. And then I'm going to take my finger in this shape and go around the sides. And I'm going to push it in at the sides. Because pastry shrinks. So you want to have this relaxed in and pushed in as much as you can, because the pastry is going to shrink on you. And push it up against the sides. And then I'm going to take a knife. I should have a sharper knife than what I have here. Okay. I have a small sharp one somewhere, but I don't know what I've done with it. Okay, so now I have to be careful because the bottom moves out of this, okay? I am just going to go along and cut off along the very rim. You can't really see that. Okay, I'm cutting off the very rim off it there. At the very, very top. Okay, at the rim off it. Because like I said, it's going to shrink. Okay. Sometimes I nearly cut just back down behind it, because it's going to shrink. Okay, and I'm left over with this pastry, which you can do something with. You can make little biscuits and stuff with, so I'm not going to throw that out. Okay. I think I can start putting that up maybe, because the sun has gone away. So I'm going to actually take the tin foil from the colour, and I think I need to put that down again. Yeah, and then I'm going to take the tin foil before, and I'm going to put this pastry back in the fridge. I'm not going to waste this pastry, okay? And I'm going to make something with it after. So now I have this. Okay, so I'm going to put it away in the fridge to relax and have a nice time. And then I'm going to clean it out. So that's that ready. So it's covered over, so nothing's going to spill on it in the fridge if something happens and someone opens the door, and they're not going to spill anything on top of it. That's not going to absorb any smells, so because remember, fats absorb smells. Okay, so I'm going to put that away in the fridge. grams. Now I'll turn off because I am going to clean down. I'll be back in a minute when everything's clean.